D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you. Willie Donick will be along momentarily. He is stuck in traffic. It is a zoo out there right now. I don't know what's going on. Accidents, congestion, who knows? Mm-hmm. Willie will be here soon. All right, what do you want to talk about, Derek? How do you want to start today's show, Derek?
Hey, did something happen this weekend?
Man.
In case you missed it.
I think we should start with. Should we start with your beloved Duke
In case you missed it, and I know you didn't, Duke collapsed again in the NCAA tournament, this time to UConn. And I was telling Derek before the show, because Willie and Derek want me to set the scene. All right. Mm-hmm. So I'll set the scene. But before I do, this is what I want y'all to do for me. 615-737-1025. Misery loves company.
Oh, it does.
So I want y'all to share with us the most heartbreaking loss your favorite team has suffered so that you can help me feel better. Okay? 615-737-1025. I'm not asking for sympathy. Lord knows Duke fans get zero sympathy. Nope. But I want to know what your team's worst loss was. I want us all to go through this trauma together. Okay? So here's the scene, because the two of you wanted me to set the scene today.
Yes.
As y'all know, I am the dad of two youngins, a 4.5-year-old boy and a 1-month-old girl. My wife and I do not have any help. We don't have any family in town. Okay? So I can't sit down and watch games the way I used to, because my wife needs help with the children. So I was following the game on my phone. And I saw that the score was 40-21 Duke in the first half. And I just got this terrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. Context. Each of Duke's past 4 losses, starting with the Final Four loss against Houston last year, both regular season losses this year versus Texas Tech and North Carolina, and the loss yesterday, all involved Duke blowing a double-digit lead. So when I saw it was 19, I said, oh boy, this is not good. And I followed the game and so on and so forth. And my wife and I had dinner planned last night for a belated birthday dinner. I turned 37 last Tuesday. So one of her coworkers and her coworker's daughter came over to watch the kids. It was near the end of the game. So we're in the car, and my wife had the game on her phone. She did not have the sound on. And my wife, let's be honest, guys, my wife hates my Duke fandom.
Yes, I'm sure
she absolutely hates it. She's so glad it's over. So she tells me Duke has the ball up 2 with 10 seconds left. I said, okay. Inbound the ball, get fouled, hit 2 free throws, call it a day. A couple minutes later, I look over to her, and her face is ghost white. And she goes, I think Duke just lost. And I look at the phone, and it's in the aftermath of the 3-pointer from UConn. So, look, it was a tough day in the Vingan house. I drowned my sorrows in a big-ass steak last night. So I feel better. But here's the problem, Derek Mason.
Yes.
I just root for teams that don't lose in normal ways. I would love to root for a team that loses normally.
Okay.
I root for a football team that has lost playoff games via the worst no call in the history of the NFL.
Referring to the Saints.
The NOLA no call on the pass interference, and something called the Minneapolis Miracle. Okay? My teams do not lose in normal ways. I am set up for heartbreak each and every time. So I feel better now. Plenty of people have razzed me over the past however many hours. Comes with the territory. But this is what I want to know from y'all. 615-737-1025. I want to know the most heartbreaking loss your favorite team has suffered so that we can all wallow together. And y'all will help me feel better so we can have the best possible show today. Derek,
yes,
I want to know what yours is. And I don't want it to be as a player. I want it to be as a fan.
Oh, man, that's tough. Yeah, that's tough. But you said misery love company because my Spartans lost sort of in the same fashion. In a sense, the game was tight versus UConn, and we just couldn't hit a basket in the end. We would draw it to 2, and just couldn't seem to get over that hump. And UConn was hitting the big shots that they needed. But to add insult to injury, don't you know that Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, Cooper Flag, no championships? You're talking about 2 generational players, and we can't say generational on here. Let me take that back. Transformable players. Zion Williams and Cooper Flag.
Mm-hmm.
They had Jared McCain, Pablo Banchero, and
Banchero.
Banchero.
Paolo Banchero.
Yep. And then the next year they had Wendell Carter Jr., Cameron Boozer,
I know where you're
and
going,
Derek Lively the second. And then
I know where you're going.
Cam Reddish, Marvin Bagley,
But here's
RJ
one thing,
Barrett.
Derek.
All these great players. And you know what they all have in common?
They haven't won a national
They
championship.
haven't
But you
won
know what,
a national
Derek?
championship.
You know this as an athlete.
Yeah.
Sometimes the team with the best players don't always win. You
Well,
know
maybe
that.
they should stop recruiting the best players.
Oh, okay.
And maybe
so they should purposely make themselves worse?
Maybe they should be, recruit the people that Illinois may recruit. Guys like that.
Guys like UConn gets.
UConn, yes. Guys like UConn get.
Well, UConn still has a couple of guys, I think, that were there for the back-to-back national championships,
They're finally
right?
old, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chase.
Chase
Man,
delivering
service.
Lunch
Great service
to
around
Derek
here.
Mason.
But no, let me see. As a kid, wow. I'm trying to, because I relate everything to being a player. And I have some disappointing ones
Of course.
when it comes to that. Wow. Okay, here's one, and this is it's almost like I shouldn't say it because it's just like you don't say something like this coming out of my mouth. It's just like I don't want to say it. There was 2 actually. The Steve Smith team that lost, I think, to Kansas with Danny Manning. I believe that they lost in the national championship game. Danny Manning, that was Danny Manning's first national championship, I believe, in Kansas. That was very disappointing as a kid growing up, because I'm born and raised in the state of Michigan, born and raised in the city of Detroit. And it's just Magic Johnson was big, even though he wasn't there at the time. But you associated Magic and Michigan State, and they end up losing the national championship game to Kansas that year. I was very disappointed as a kid. Okay. And this one's going to be, I can't, it's hard for me to get it out, but I'm going to try. Bear with me. The Fab Five, when they lost. Oh, and I hate to say it because it's almost like you don't say that as a Michigan State guy, but that Fab Five team, because a lot of those guys, well, at least 2 of them, Weber and Jalen, were Detroit guys, like Detroit guys. Weber's mom taught at my high school, so Weber would be up there all the time. Jalen would come, and he was known throughout the city.
That was the 1993
Yes.
national championship game?
Yes, and when Chris Webber called that timeout against North Carolina, I think the whole city just was like, you got to be kidding me.
Now, I hear Willie Donick, who's now in the studio. I
Yes.
hear Willie
Hello, guys.
Donick has his own version of the Chris Webber play before Chris Webber even did it. And Willie may know a thing or two about gut-wrenching losses. He is wearing a Mets hat after all.
Yes.
So
A whole bunch of it.
we're
huh?
all in this together.
I'm a little disappointed, Adam, you being the Duke person you are,
Yes.
that you weren't at least able to focus at the end of the game. Like, couldn't the dinner reservation have been
We
pushed
were
back a
already
little
late.
bit?
We were already late for the dinner
I mean,
reservation.
what kind of fan is
and
that?
I did call the restaurant multiple times.
Uh-huh.
Nobody answered. It went straight to voicemail.
Oh,
So I
wow.
called. I was trying to move back the reservation, but
But
we
you
were
couldn't.
already going to be late, and I
Okay.
didn't want to lose the reservation. My wife would have been very disappointed.
I
sure
get
she
it.
would
I
have.
get it. But
I tried.
I mean, life happens.
I tried.
These are important things.
I
But
tried.
I was You didn't feel the pain of the ball going through the basket though when you saw it.
I did not see it in live time.
Hey, Willie, I told the story to Adam. I said, because I didn't actually watch the game live. I recorded and went back and watched it. And when I went to set to turn it on, it showed Hurley. And they were asking Hurley a question. He was like, and I was like, okay, oh my goodness, I didn't sport out. But I said, well, let me see what happened. Because I figured maybe they end up beating UConn. I mean, UConn ended up beating Duke by 10 points. So as I'm watching the game, I see in the first half, and I'm like, they up almost 20 points. How in the hell did they lose this game? With 13 minutes left, they're still up. With 2 minutes left, they're still up 8. I'm like, how did they lose it? And then I saw.
I thought with 5 minutes to go. Now, I didn't see the game live either. I had to go back and watch because it was literally while the Predators game was going on. But I thought it was interesting where UConn got it from 9 to 2 like that.
Yes.
Like all of a sudden with 5 minutes, it was 9. And with like 4 minutes and 15 seconds, it was 2. Like, whoa. But Duke, I thought, hung in there, and they still were in the driver's seat down the stretch. And then we know what happened there. But yes, I'm stunned to hear you say that the Fab Five is your team. But I did have a Chris Webber before Chris Webber in high school. I was a sophomore.
Same stakes. Now
think about this.
Your national championship game in college basketball.
Oh, wow.
I'm the up-and-coming sophomore playing with a lot of seniors. We weren't a great team. But I did the thing at the end of the game. I called the timeout. We did not have a timeout.
Oh, wow.
And I'll never forget my coach, Bo Clark. He looked right at me and he's like, we don't have any timeouts.
Okay, give us a picture of what was going on and what made you call a timeout. Were y'all up or y'all down?
Take us back, Willie.
Yeah, take us back. Because
I've tried to erase it from my memory. We were right in the game, and I don't know, it might have been tied or might have been down 1, but I got the ball. I called it. It was an impulse. I just said, timeout. And all of a sudden, whistles are going. Hold on, let's go to the scorer's table. Let me double check this. You got no timeouts. Like my coach already knew it. He was looking at me. We don't have any timeouts. And sure enough, here comes the ref. Technical foul. Winter Park. Game over. I did not sleep that night.
What did your dad say?
They were great. My parents were great. They were like, okay, it happens. You learn. That's a tough one. But
oh, wow.
I love the whole idea of the pain. Like everybody's been through it, right? I don't care how good the team is you're rooting for.
We've
had those moments.
Excellent.
So for me,
on our text line,
as a Met fan, I think the one that stands out for me the most as a kid was, and this was also in high school, right around the time I did the Chris Webber, a couple years later, I think. 1988 playoffs. The Mets are playing the Dodgers. This was the year that Oral Hershiser and Kirk Gibson became the legends that they are. The Kirk Gibson home run off of Dennis Eckersley. If you're a baseball fan, you've seen that. That happened in the World Series. The Dodgers beat the Mets, a really good Mets team, in the LCS in 7 games. The Mets were up 2-1 and had an out in the 9th. And Dwight Gooden was pitching, my favorite pitcher, and we win this game. It's going to be 3-1. We're not going to have to beat Hershiser to win it, and I'm feeling really good. He gives up a home run to Mike Scioscia, who was a great player, but the guy probably averaged 6 or 7 home runs a year, and he smokes one and ties the game, and it just sunk my heart. And then it goes to extra innings, and this is probably the lesser known of the great Kirk Gibson home runs, but Kirk Gibson hits a home run in the 12th inning to beat the Mets. And I just, you're watching by yourself and you go numb. Like you want to go to your knees. Like it's just you can't function. You just freeze for a while. That's the feeling that you get.
Here are some submissions on our text line. A lot of good ones. 615-737-1025. Josh says, my most heartbreaking loss was when the Braves lost to the Cardinals in the playoffs on the infield fly rule debacle. which was 2012.
I was sitting right in the chair you're sitting in right now, Adam, when that happened live.
Oh, wow.
And I was on the air with Plaz, the #1 Braves fan in
And how did he
Nashville.
take it?
Oh, we had dead air for a couple seconds.
I'm sure it was
Josh
tough.
says, I lost a little bit of zest in my fandom for baseball that night, and it still makes me sad today. Keegan says, and cover your ears, David. Keegan says, Mario Chalmers hit the shot against Memphis. D. Rose was the player who got me into college basketball. Memphis sports is my lifeblood until this day. Hated Chalmers even when he spent 3 very good seasons for the Grizzlies. Had me in tears as a child. What kind of human does that to a child? I agree, Keegan. Stephanie, Predators versus Penguins 2017 Stanley Cup Final Game 6. I literally cried in my seat. 2-26 will always haunt me, one texter says.
I asked my son this question, and he brought up the exact thing. I don't know if it was the moment that he's referring to, but my son said he was sitting right in the seat when Patrick Hornquist scored the goal, which was debatable, goaltender interference. But the former Predator, Patrick Hornquist, with the score tied in Game 6, got this weird goal. It was a typical Patrick Hornquist goal, if you've ever watched him play. In front of the net, just mucking it up, finding a way to get it. He went off of Pekka's shoulder, just inched into the net. Just heartbreaking. That ended up being the series-winning goal.
John from Murfreesboro said, I nearly broke my TV over the Tony Romo fumbled snap on the possible go-ahead field goal against the Seahawks. I have never forgiven him.
These are awesome because I remember where I was watching all these. I remember being in a hotel room watching that and just being in shock. Like, what?
Matthew in Nashville says, as bad as those games are, nothing will ever compare to being a Lady Vols fan and watching a South Carolina player who had never attempted a 3 in her life make a 3 at the buzzer to beat you to win the SEC championship game, or losing on a late shot to Loyola Chicago and Sister Jean. A lot of good ones here. Keep them coming. 615-737-1225.
You know, there was another, because I was a huge, growing up, there were 2 teams outside of the Detroit Lions that I loved. It was the San Diego Chargers and the Houston Oilers. Warren Moon, Dan Fouts, that whole, because they love throwing the football. And then Lorenzo White was on the team, the Houston team, and he's a Michigan State guy. That game versus Buffalo, if you were a Houston fan, that had to be the worst loss ever. It had to be. They scored 28 points in the third quarter. Yeah. That's unheard of.
So it was 35-3 in favor of the Oilers.
Yes.
Early in the second half.
Yes, they scored 28 points in the third quarter. It's like, wow.
I remember watching that, and I was not. Had no.
I was an Oilers fan because they liked.
So you were rooting for the Oilers.
Yeah, I was rooting for the Oilers.
I didn't care one way or the other really for either of those teams, but I just remember going, "This is getting interesting. Hey, it's getting closer."
615,
and I just felt so bad for the Oilers, like just to lose that game. And then the funny thing is, they fell behind in that game. Floyd Reese, I remember talking. He could go on all day about this. He hated talking about it, but sometimes you had to ask about it. But they got behind 35 or 38-35 and kicked the field goal to tie it. Like they recovered and scored. Like, okay, they're back. It's tied. They got a chance. Still lost.
Oh, well.
615-737-1025. I will still solicit your most heartbreaking losses so that I can feel better. I feel better today. Still stings. But this is why we love sports, right?
But there's nothing quite like a ball going through the hoop, right? It's a little, it's the most dagger of the daggers.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Maybe a walk-off home run. Speaking of that was an interesting weekend over at Hawkins Field.
We will get to that.
We will get to that.
We will get to that.
Those were some daggers.
Yes, I do think you're right. I do think,
but the ball going
through the basket as time expires,
that's just deadly.
That hurts. That hurts the most, I think. 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your not suggestions, your heartbreaking memories. We're all going to wallow in it together. But coming up next, we'll also discuss Tennessee basketball because Michigan actually did what a number 1 seed is supposed to do, and Michigan throttled Tennessee. What's next for Tennessee basketball? 615-737-1025. 1025. Tee it up with us at the 5th Annual 615 Open, May 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are once again supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. Register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, reacting to the weekend that was. And Reaction Mondays are brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. So I am asking all of you to help me by sharing with us your most heartbreaking loss as a sports fan. 615-737-1025. One texter says, the 2008 Titans losing to the Ravens in the divisional round 13-10. Just brutal. Although, now that I think about it, D-Mace was on the other side, so he may remember that one a bit differently.
Oh, absolutely. I do.
One texter says, as a Bama fan, the kick six. My hatred for Auburn knows no bounds. Seeing that made me physically sick. Another texter, Allen, says, most heartbreaking loss, Arkansas not catching the foul ball that would have clinched the 2018 College World Series against Oregon State. My PTSD is triggered just bringing it up.
I was watching that when that happened too. My goodness, that is unbelievable. That they, for those that may not have seen that, Arkansas, remember it's 2 out of 3 for the baseball. When you get into the final in the College World Series in Omaha, you play the team from the other bracket, and it's 2 out of 3. So Arkansas won the first game. They had the ball in the triangle, right? It's a foul ball behind first. So you got 3 guys, first baseman, second baseman, right fielder coming in, converging on it. And the guy misses it. I think it was the second baseman that missed it, but it absolutely should have been caught. So then not only do they follow up and lose that game, but there's a whole nother game after that. They had to come back the next night, and they lost that game too. So it was, you're winding it back and saying, why are we even here for the third game? This game shouldn't be happening.
Let's go to Trent, who's been waiting patiently on our phone line. Trent, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. This is still a hard one on me. As a local Tennessee person who's rooted for the Vols, Preds, Titans my whole life, the one team that I cheer for that's not here locally are the Toronto Blue Jays. And watching that World Series and, well, actually being the 2024 last in the AL East and making it to the World Series after crushing the Yankees, those miraculous wins over the Mariners, and then getting to the World Series to face the Dodgers. It's funny because everywhere that I wore my Blue Jays stuff, it seemed like the Blue Jays were America's team. Unless you were in California, then it was obviously the Dodgers. But, you know, the weird little hit that ended up going into the outfield wall that is a 1 in a million chance. And then the run to bring it in to win it, just being a hair off, you know, just little instances like that. You know, it really hurts. And Willie, Bo Bichette being 1 for 11, man, I don't know. That's tough. I hope he turns it around, but that's a tough start for Bo. So I wish him nothing but the best out there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Trent.
I appreciate him wishing Bo Bichette well after he left the Blue Jays. But that was the Blue Jays run last year. They had so many great moments on the way to Game 7, and then they had those moments in Game 7 where it's like you can feel it. You know, they were, 2 outs away, and the guy hit the home run to tie it, a guy that is not a home run hitter. It was classic. Was it Miguel Rojas that hit the home run? And then he was referring to the guy trying to score from third. There was a play at the plate, and he is, I swear, maybe 3 inches from scoring and beating the throw. Series over. Like the pile up at home plate would have been unbelievable. You could taste it, but it didn't happen.
Let's quickly go to James in Ashland City. James, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Well, I wasn't calling initially about the worst game loss I have, but since that's the topic, I got 2 right in my repertoire here. Number one would be the Tennessee, being a big Tennessee fan and former season ticket holder. The game that hurts the most is the 1995 Florida-Tennessee game in Gainesville when Tennessee led 34-14 at halftime and got the ball to start the second half and was driving. And then little man Stewart dove to try to get the first down at the 50-yard line and fumbled, and Tennessee did not score the rest of the game. Florida went on to win 63-34. That's the worst. And then secondly, in 2004, when the catch that wasn't a catch by Gaffney in the end zone. If you look at it now, we had replay now, that would have not been a catch. So those are my two big worst losses as a Tennessee Volunteer football fan. And if it's okay if I have just a little latitude, I'd like to talk about Rick Barnes and the Vols, if that's okay with you
Sure.
all.
Go right ahead.
Take up too much time. I'm just going to say, and I'm sure there are Vol fans that might disagree with me, this is probably Rick Barnes' best coaching year. And I say that because I didn't have them even making the tournament. I didn't have them making to the Sweet 16. Let's get one thing straight. There's no Chaz Lanier on this team. There's no Dalton Kennett. There's no Grant Williams. So for them to beat Michigan, guys, in the Elite Eight game, you'd have to have Gillespie, Ament, and Boswell just drain threes, and they just couldn't get it done. That being said, they shouldn't even been in the Elite Eight to begin with. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thanks, James. That's a good stepping off point for our next discussion. Tennessee loses 95-62 against Michigan. Michigan versus Arizona in one national semifinal. Should be one hell of a game. And I hear what James is saying, because this Tennessee team was the lowest seeded Tennessee team in the NCAA tournament since Rick Barnes became the coach. They had been a 2 seed the previous 2 years, a 6 seed this season. They beat 2 top 3 seeds in Virginia and Iowa State. And I'm wondering what's next for Tennessee, because I agree with James. I think that Rick Barnes got a lot out of this team. You guys tell me if I'm not being accurate here. Tennessee's defense this season was still very good, but not elite. Tennessee teams under Rick Barnes have been elite defensively. This was not what I would consider an elite defensive team, maybe just a shade under. And there was no sharpshooter on this team, such as Dalton Kennett. Nate Ament, I think, had a solid season, but he wasn't right at the end. He suffered the high ankle sprain near the end of the season. The Vols went into the tournament on a slump. He was ineffective in the tournament. He averaged 10.3 points per game over 4 games in the tournament. He shot 33% from the field. But the fact remains, Willie and Derek, that Rick Barnes hasn't made the Final Four in more than 20 years. And the fact remains that Tennessee is the winningest program in NCAA tournament history to never appear in a Final Four. So when is it going to take, Willie, for Rick Barnes to finally get over that hump? I think he did a really good coaching job this season. But I'm wondering if and when he is going to be able to take that program somewhere where it's never been.
I think all you can do is put yourself in position each year, especially now where you probably are not likely to have the same nucleus of players year after year. It gets harder each year, it seems like, to have a group of guys that play together for 2-3 years. So he'll come back with a completely different. This was a completely different group this year, and he got him to the Elite Eight. It was a really good job, I think, by him. They overachieved. They caught a break. They got to play Iowa State without Iowa State's best player. That was clearly a factor that allowed them to have the upper hand in that game. They took full advantage of it. But that was a good run. If they had lost in the first or the second round with their team this year, I don't think I would have been surprised. I would have been surprised if they didn't make the tournament, unlike the caller, because I always know that they're gonna put themselves in position with the way he puts together the defense, the way they rebound. That's going to get you a certain amount of wins. But yeah, they did lack a little bit of firepower, the necessary firepower to get to the Final Four. And so I think next year they'll be right back in the same position, probably with some different guys.
But does Rick Barnes need to change anything, Derek?
He's going to have to start winning in the tournament. That's what it's going to have to be. He's had teams that we've looked at over the years that we thought, okay, this team has the potential of winning a national championship.
I'm thinking of the team
The-
2 years ago with Dalton Connect and that
Yes.
great game with Purdue.
And then
Last year.
that was last year's team. And then 3 years ago was it 3 years ago?
Well, 2 years ago was Connect. Last year was
Chaz Lanier.
Chaz
and
Lanier,
but
Zakai
3
Ziegler.
years before that,
into Houston.
it was right before the Connect. Who at the why am I
Grant
forgetting?
Williams.
Yeah, Grant Williams. That's when they, where they ended up. They lost to Purdue. Was it Purdue in the Final
they
Four or
lost
Elite
in the-
Eight?
they lost to Florida Atlantic
Yeah.
in the Sweet 16 in 2023.
Okay, before that,
You're going back a little further. It was more like 2017
that was
or 18 when they lost to Purdue. The game you're thinking, or
was it that long ago? I didn't think it was that long ago.
In 2022, Tennessee.
Purdue was 2019.
So it was 2019.
They
That's
lost
when
in
they-
overtime to Purdue in the Sweet
Yes,
16.
they lost overtime, and that
was a
team
really good Tennessee team. That was
Yeah,
31.
where-
They were 31-5
where
going into that game.
the forward decided he didn't want to be in the game. And what was the other forward?
Admiral Schofield, Grant Williams, Jordan Bone from Brentwood
Schofield.
Academy.
Was it Schofield?
Admiral
or,
Schofield was a really good player. Yeah.
Yes. Decided that he didn't want to be on the court. Someone else could take the last shot. I believe that's how it went. He wasn't on the court for that particular play, if I'm explaining it accurately. And I made a big deal about that. When one of your best players is either not on the court or isn't shooting the ball. So even that team, we thought had a chance to win a national championship. And he hasn't been able to get over the hump. And listen, I know how sports work. It's, if a coach is winning, it's hard to kind of, pivot and do something else. But because it's always the grass may not be greener on the other side sort of deal. You look at what Kentucky's going through. The grass may not be greener once Coach Cal leaves. And that team has been up and down since Coach Cal left. And even with Coach Cal, they didn't get, based upon the talent they had, they didn't win the games necessary because he had some great teams. I'm not saying that Rick Barnes has had some great teams. He has. But Vol fan, it has to get to a point where I can see if you have a national championship under your belt. You don't. There has to get to a point where when is getting to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8 enough? I mean, when is there going to be more? Like, we need more from Rick Barnes. I'm not calling for him to be fired, because I think he's a hell of a coach. But even with the really good coaches, he has found a way, or his team has found a way. Even if you look at this game, their best player didn't show up, Amen. And that's what we said. In order for them to beat Michigan, Amen had to show up. And he didn't. They couldn't be led by Gillespie. They just couldn't. He had a great tournament, but they couldn't be led by him. His main player, and maybe it could have been injury. His main player didn't score or didn't affect the game the way he should have. He went 2 for 12, somewhere around there. And it's like,
Michigan was just playing at a whole nother level.
I understand Michigan is just head and shoulders above basically everybody, really,
maybe Arizona.
Yes. But even with that, he's going to have to start winning the games that mean something. He is. Listen, I'm not asking for him to be fired. He's a hell of a coach, but his resume doesn't have national champion on there.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the Vols and their loss in the Elite Eight to Michigan. 615-737-1025. But coming up next, Turron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation Titans reporter, will join the program. We'll catch up with TD. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Turron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation, Titans reporter extraordinaire. TD, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, man? I can't say I can complain one bit. It's beautiful out here in Phoenix.
So you are at the owners/coaches meetings in Arizona. Tell us what you have heard about the Titans that you find most interesting so far since you've been out there.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing, and I'm about to write it right now, is they're going to go, at least from what I've gathered, they're going to go best player available, and it doesn't matter what the position is. So if the best player on their board happens to be a guard, guess what? From what I've gathered, they're going to go guard. I think more running back is the direction that takes you, and that's obviously a position that everybody is very, very interested in. I asked about just like when you're looking at a player like a Jeremiah Love, you know, how much nitpicking, like do you find yourself nitpicking because it's like, yo, he can't be this good of a prospect, and that was something that they admitted to, you know, and again, it goes back to the best player available, and there's different things that they look at to be able to separate, you know, when there's a cluster of guys. So that was the most interesting thing to me. And also that there isn't any doubt that Bain could line up in the wide 9 alignment if asked to, Ruben Bain Jr.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You said last week when we asked you about the order of prospects for the Titans, you said that you think that David Bailey had the inside track followed by Jeremiah Love. Has that changed based on what you heard today?
No, it hasn't changed. It just, you know, knowing that Bailey is right there is probably the top. It was more conversation about Bain and just, you know, the quote unquote limitations. So that's all. He was a hot topic in the conversation.
Well, let me ask you about Ruben Bain, Turron, because you are a ball knower, much more than I am. You grind the tape. You watch the film. I rely on the data. And the data tells me that pass rushers with Ruben Baines' arm length don't typically produce at a high level in the NFL. But again, you watch the tape. You talk to people in the know. What are they telling you about Bain in that particular aspect, and why the Titans may not be concerned about that if they choose to draft him at number 4?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that is a concern, frankly. And I think when you look at the way that they do this, right, you know, you got to look at background, and you got to look at beyond just the play. And one thing, Jason Taylor is a Hall of Fame defensive end. Obviously, he won with length, but he taught Ruben Bain Jr. and Akeem Mesidor how to use their hands. So, you know, that's something that is really coming out as far as, like, you know, how a lot of people feel about Bain. But the thing that really stands above all else when I talk to a lot of these people is hey, listen, he has the power to like he'll power through an offensive lineman. And as long as he could do that, yeah, the whole length and you know, speed off the edge is something that they like in players, you know, like a David Bailey, but they like just the pure ability to go impact the game and get to the quarterback that Bain has shown throughout the year.
Now, TD, we know that, you know, free agency technically isn't over because there will be another wave of guys that will be cut eventually as we start getting closer and closer to camp. Have they hinted on what they may do moving forward as far as free agency? Because, again, we all know they did go get and they filled some holes and they got some good players. But the one side they really didn't address was the offensive line. And maybe, like you said, they do it, you know, taking the best player available. And if it's a guard, then so be it. But what have they said about that sort of next wave of free agency?
Well, they first and foremost said it's not over. You know, Kevin Zeitler is still a guy that's in play. So that could be a post-draft thing. But I wouldn't expect anything of too much significance until after the draft, to be honest with you. But while we're talking offensive line and the interior part of it, you know, they're not opposed. If they got to start 2 rookies along the interior, then they'll do that. I mean, that's something Mike Bergonzi has said. He pointed to Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith that started for a Super Bowl winning or a deep playoff running team. I think they lost that year to the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. But nevertheless, these are 2 rookies that started, on the offensive line for a championship caliber team. So that's something that, he said if Bergonzi, that is, if that's something that they end up doing, then so be it. He felt that there are starters that could be had at the top part of day 2, at the center position. So, look, if an offensive lineman is one of the top 3 picks, I know people are going to want to, run and take a jump off the pedestrian bridge, but don't do it because it is an area of need.
Now, TD, if indeed they do draft Jeremiah Love, which I hope they do, what do you think the next step is for either Pollard or Spears? Do you think they go in camp with all 3 of them? Or if they draft a running back, they may be looking to trade one of them as they're drafting Jeremiah Love, because that would be the running back that they would be drafting. So what do you see with those 2 guys if indeed they draft Jeremiah Love?
Yeah, that's, and that's the thing that's interesting. It would be unfortunate for Pollard if they cut him post June 1st because he's hitting the market later, you know what I mean? And he doesn't have an opportunity to go get acclimated with the team early in the process. But I don't know, because Pollard had a solid year last year. Tajay Spears has the injury. Pollard, you save money. Tajay Spears is a cheap contract. So there's a lot of back and forth that they're going to have to do. But I think if Love gets picked, one of those guys are not going to be able to be there. And it's just like, okay, Pollard is a longer-term veteran. Do you want to keep that veteran there to help guide your young guy, your first-round pick, or do you feel like Spears could do that? And it's all just about how much value that brings to them in the big picture.
Turron Davenport is with us. Turron, how do you think the Brandon Ayuk situation is going to play itself out in San Fran?
That is a good question. He definitely won't be back, but it's just a matter of when they go ahead and pull the trigger. There's a lot of personality things that seem to come out, about him and his time in San Francisco, which obviously isn't good. And I don't think a team like the Titans should jump into that market. But there are some teams, maybe like the Chiefs or something like that have an already proven, established locker room that might be able to take on whatever personality issues. But he's definitely not going to be with the 49ers next year.
And that says something there. I was just curious because, Robert Saleh has already shown that he'll grab some guys that he's familiar with in different places. So I wonder what he knows and what he thinks about Ayuk.
Yeah, and I think, that's something that I'll ask about tomorrow. I'm not sure to what extent he'll answer because, coaches typically don't like to talk too much about a player on another team, currently on another team, you know what I mean? So we'll see, but that familiarity, if there's something there, obviously, you look at Robert Saleh and what he worked to do his second time there in San Francisco, and that's connect to everybody, on both sides of the ball. So I'm sure that there were conversations. Well, I don't know because, from what I understand, Ayuk wasn't around much either. So I'm not sure. That'll be a good question to ask tomorrow.
Now, TD, is the 18th game the thing that's dominating the conversation at the owners' meeting, or is it something else in conjunction with that?
No, that's it. There are some minor special teams things that you'll probably see change, and that's going to be interesting because it's the change is different from how the Titans work, on kickoff teams. So keep an eye out for that. But that's the main thing of the 18th game, and that's in conversation from everything all the way down to when things start happening as far as international games and, how that could alleviate having to give up a home game. You know what I mean? And there's different things like that.
Turron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation Titans reporter, has been our guest on D-Mays, Ving, and the Donick. He joins us every Monday TD, enjoy the beautiful weather, get some sun, get some work done. We'll catch up next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Man. Appreciate it. And you know what it is, Willie. Let's go, Mets.
Playing the
Louis
cards.
Roberts,
Got the
baby.
cards tonight. Hey, we were talking about painful moments watching. We have plenty of them, Turron, because Adam, of course, had his heart ripped out by UConn over the weekend with UConn hitting that shot. But if I say Mike Scioscia to you, what do you think about?
I think about the home run that he hit, man. It's so funny because as you're talking about painful moments, that's the first one that came up. Because that '88 team, I couldn't wait to see the Mets go beat the Oakland A's. I couldn't wait to see that, but it never came to fruition.
Never leaves you.
You just re-unlocked a bad memory. Much
Sorry. Well, try to gather yourself, Turron, and we'll catch up next week.
All right. I appreciate it.
Yep.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, the Nashville Predators had a rough end of the week. 8 games left in the regular season. What will it take for them to make the playoffs? We will discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. And speaking of 1025 The Game, 1025 The Game and Team Boxing League have your chance to win a pair of VIP tickets as Nashville Smash takes on Phoenix Fury at Municipal Auditorium on Friday, April 17th. Just text the keyword FIGHT, FIGHT, to the game text line at 615-737-1025 to enter to win. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. The Nashville Predators had a rough weekend. Had a rough end to last week. Coming off of 5 consecutive wins, the Predators have dropped 3 in a row. Over the weekend, a 4-1 loss at home to Montreal, then a 3-2 loss on the road at Tampa yesterday, following up 5 consecutive wins with 3 consecutive regulation losses. And the Predators are about to embark on a long road trip. We won't see Willie for basically 2 weeks. The Predators start the road trip Thursday in LA, San Jose on Saturday, back to LA the following Monday, to Anaheim on April 7th, and Utah on April 9th. So 5 games over the course of a week against 4, because they play the Kings twice. 4 opponents in the playoff race. And Willie, this is what we talked about last week when things were going well for the Predators. They had won 5 in a row. That at this time of the year, with how tight the standings are, any slip up can be damaging. The Predators still hold the final wild card spot in the Western Conference, but Utah has opened a 5-point lead for the first wild card spot. The Kings are 1 point back. The Kraken are 2 points back. Look out, here come the Winnipeg Jets. They're 3 points back. Even the St. Louis Blues are just 4 points back. So for as well as things were going for the Predators, I mentioned it last week, the margin for error is razor thin. And I do think the last 3 games demonstrated that.
Yeah, but I think the same can be said for all. Now, I think you have to say there are 6 teams competing for 1 spot. I mean, it is really amazing. All 6 of the teams have no margin for error. They're not great teams. We've been saying this for a couple months. That last spot is going to go to a team that is a flawed team, that is not a great team. And so I think that's what the Predators have to focus on. It's easy to get in a woe is me kind of outlook. It just seems like the world's ending when you lose a couple of games. And that was a tough one yesterday. They really battled yesterday in a tough place to win. Missed opportunity. I think the rough part of these 3 games is in Saturday's game, they just got beat. The Montreal is playing great, and that is a tough matchup for the Predators because of the speed of Montreal. That is a rising team. I was so impressed with them. But the game against the Devils and the game Sunday, there were opportunities there to at least grab a point or 2, and they weren't able to do it. Unlike so many of the games during this climate they've been on, where they've been finding ways to win, finding ways to push the game to overtime. So that was the disappointing part. But I think in the big picture, at least I've been trying to think about this. I knew it wasn't going to be smooth sailing. That's the hard part. When you see yourself above that line and it hasn't been that way in 5 months or whatever it's been, it's like, oh, we made it. We're across the line. It's too early to have that, right? There's still plenty of time for there to be more winding roads where you're going to have some ups and downs. I think that's going to be the key in these last 8 games, to keep the even keel and just keep your head down and get as many points as you can out of this last 8 games and see where you sit.
Just to show you how much the Predators' fortunes have changed over the past number of weeks. I know that, Willie, you are skeptical about the percentage chances of making the playoffs, but I'm trying to put a number on it. So on March 16th, before the Predators' 5-game winning streak began, they had a 14.1% chance of making the playoffs, according to Sportlogic. 14.1%. March 25th, following the Predators' 5th consecutive win, all the way up to 65.4%. This morning, after 3 consecutive regulation losses, 27.8%. So from 14.1, or the past couple of weeks, from 14.1 to 65.4 to 27.8. And I know that the Predators are going to be playing a lot of teams they are in direct competition with, such as the LA Kings, twice on the same road trip, and the San Jose Sharks, and the Utah Mammoth. So the Predators, in a way, control their destiny. If they win the games against the teams they are directly competing with, they'll be okay. But this is what I was trying to figure out last week, and I wasn't able to put a number on it. But the Predators have 8 games left. So that's 16 possible standings points at stake. They have 77 points on the season. So let's say it's going to take 87 points to make the playoffs. That would be 10 out of 16 possible points. That's a 4-2-2 record. That would be 10 out of 16 possible points. So I understand that you also have to factor in what the other teams are doing, the teams that you aren't playing. But to me, I think the Predators should look at these remaining 8 games and think to themselves, we can't lose probably more than 2 games in regulation to give ourselves the best chance to make the playoffs. Losing 3 games in a row in regulation at this time of the season, that margin for error, I think it's minuscule. So you think that's reasonable, Willie? 4-2-2 over the final 8 games to have a real shot at making the playoffs?
I think so. I think 87 is going to be right in the neighborhood. And remember, there are tiebreakers involved too. And so they're 1 point up on the Kings, but they have the tiebreaker over the Kings, and that's likely to stay. The tiebreaker with the Kraken and the Jets, who are the next 2 teams, is up for grabs. All 3 have the exact same amount of regulation wins. So keep that in mind as well, because there is no, if it's a tie, it's not like you play a 1-game playoff, right? There are tiebreakers, and so you have to know who you have the tiebreakers against. So 87 might be good enough for a tie, but you might, depending on who you tie with, you might need 88 to beat that team. So I think 4-2-2 is reasonable, but I think you have to not worry about that. You can't get caught up into what's our percentage today. It's each game, putting your best out there. Those 2 Kings games clearly are enormous starting on Thursday, and it will be the Kings in a back-to-back, right? They're in a 7-game homestand. They play the Blues on Wednesday, right? Isn't that what you told me, Adam?
Yes, they play the Blues on Wednesday.
The Blues are playing better than any of the teams, but they're coming from the furthest back. So I'm really curious what the Blues look like down the stretch here, because they were completely off the radar until about a week ago, but they're playing, what are they, like 11-1-2 or something in their last 14 games?
They've won 4 in a row. That I do know. By the way, the second tiebreaker following regulation wins is regulation and overtime wins, excluding shootouts. The Predators have 30. The Kraken have 31. The Jets have 29. So that's your second tiebreaker. So
that could go any number of ways there.
That's your second tiebreaker. But, Derek, this is a pivotal road trip, as we've laid out. 2 games against the Kings, a game against the Ducks, a game against the Sharks, a game against the Mammoth. Last week, we were talking about, hey, maybe the Predators can get to wild card 1. Mm-hmm. That may be more difficult now because of the 3 losses in a row. But a win in Utah, depending on what else happens with the Mammoth, maybe that's in play. But this is where I'm going to plant my flag, so to speak.
Okay.
I do think that it will take no more. Let me rephrase this. The Predators cannot afford to lose more than 2 games in regulation the rest of the season. I think 4-2-2 is sort of the baseline if they want a legitimate shot of making the playoffs. 4-2-2. I think I can mess with it a little bit, tinker with the record, but that to me seems like the baseline. It's got to be 4 wins, 2 regulation losses, 2 overtime losses, bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their schedule, Utah and Minnesota would probably be the 2 toughest, I believe, teams that they play. So if they can split that and win the rest, or at least go into overtime in a few of them, then they put themselves in a good position. But this is their playoffs right now. And they have to approach it as such. Now, Willie, do you believe they will, because they got 7 games left?
8.
How many of those games do you think UC Saros starts? Do you believe he starts all of them? or out of 8, at least 5 to 6?
I would say the number would be 5 or 6. I think 6 is likely. They have one back-to-back left, I believe. In L.A., the second game against L.A. is followed by a back-to-back against Anaheim. So they're going to be splitting those two. The question is, at this point, if UC Saros gets in a groove, do you just go with him? Ananen has played very well. He played well yesterday again. Probably deserved better. I thought the same was true in his start against the Devils, where he gave them a chance to win. Some of the goals were pretty freaky that got scored. I think both he and Saros have given them opportunities to win. They haven't lost a game because of either one of them in a good while now. But it's a really good question, because I'm sure the coaches are weighing that right now. So I would guess that Saros will get the start for sure against the Kings. And if he has a really good game, then you might see them just ride him in all of the games except for the back-to-backs. But I'm not sure. Saros has had really good success over his career against the Sharks. But, of course, I don't know how much you really factor that in, because this Sharks team is a very different Sharks team than when UC Saros was playing 7 or 8 years ago, right? Completely different players. So I've always been curious on how that factors into the decisions.
Now, best case scenario in those 4 games, if they go 3-1, what do you think they do after that? Because they still have 4 remaining, and it would start with Utah, then Minnesota, then San Jose, and to end it at Anaheim. But if they can, in the next 3 games, they get 6 points, and say they don't get a point in the Anaheim game, do you think it changes anything after that?
As far as who to play in goal?
Who to play in goal, and their standing moving forward.
I think they probably have not allowed themselves to look that far ahead. I think it's going to be all about
just that one
this road trip. I think they've got to gear up. They finally have a couple of days to regroup. They have played so much hockey, and that, I think, had a big hand in their ability to play over the weekend. They are a team that's got some real young guys who haven't been through this, and they've got some older guys who I think have shown a little signs of fatigue when you bunch up games. They played, I believe, Adam, 9 games in 15 days. They had back-to-back 4-game weeks, which ended on a back-to-back. That was brutal. So you're just not going to have your A game every time. And so I think that was a reason why they didn't quite play well enough. But now you've got a couple of days to regroup. You have today's a day off. You can practice. Then you got a travel day. But hopefully they can recharge a little bit and be at their best. I think that's all you can ask is, you've come this far. Even though they've dipped, I think the mental play is, look, nobody thought you would have any chance of making the playoffs on Thanksgiving Day. Like, it was 0%. So if you'd have told me on Thanksgiving Day, you're going to go on this 5-game road trip, you're going to be on a 3-game losing streak, but everything you want to accomplish is right there. You could make the playoffs if you do well in these last 8 games. It's an 8-game season. That reset, I think, is going to be important here, because they've gone from oblivion to, hey, we still have a chance. Oh, you just traded 4 players. Hey, look, we still have a chance. Oh my gosh, we're up by 3 points. What happened? Like that was an amazing maze of emotions. And now you've got the next thing of, oh, we've lost 3 in a row. So maintaining the even keel, I think, and resetting is going to be everything here.
JC in Goodlettsville, who could not resist, says, Adam, you didn't mention the Blackhawks in your playoff contenders. Surely the tear down and start over is working. You brought it up. I did not bring up any of that today. You brought it up. So are the Blackhawks in the playoffs? No. Look at the Ducks, though. Ducks leading the Pacific Division. They've had their trials and tribulations in recent years. They seem to be coming out of the other side.
There's 2 games with the Ducks that the Predators play. So those are 2 huge games.
Ryan in Nashville says the last 3 games, are the reason I don't want the Predators to make the playoffs. Preds don't do well against speed, and even worse against speed and skill. It'll be a 4-game sweep against the Avs. I think Ryan may be specifically, Willie, discussing the Montreal game, because that is Montreal's game.
Well, they played a series of teams, I think, who play like that.
The Devils, too.
The Devils definitely like that. The Sharks absolutely play like that. Even the Blackhawks to some degree. Young, skilled. But the Canadians are clearly the best of those teams. And Tampa, as good as they are, and you were not playing with Kucherov, they were not as fast a team. And I thought the Predators were able to match up and play better against Tampa, even though Tampa's the best of all of those teams. So matchups are a part of this, no question. They're going to have to find a way to beat Anaheim in particular. They need to have success against them, and that is a team that would love to get into a track meet with you.
One texter said, "Get on board, fellas. Easy money." Then sent in a screenshot. Betting $50 for the St. Louis Blues to win the Stanley Cup, it would pay $50,050. We'll see.
You know, it may work to the Preds' advantage if Anaheim stays where they're at, and not getting this back and forth with Edmonton and Vegas. It seemed won't catch them, but that last game may not mean nothing to Anaheim.
That's a wild card in the last 3 games too, because Minnesota also could be in a position at that point where they could be locked in to third place. That's where it's going right now. So they may not be able to move up or down. So they might be managing some things accordingly, but that's still
down
way off. So I think the playoffs begin in, I heard this today, 19 days. Is that right? So the next 19 days, you've got these 8 games. There's so much to think about. And one of the scenarios for those of you that are like, well, I'd rather see them have the high draft pick. If they hit the wall and don't play well at all, they could slide down 5 spots in the overall standings, and that would give them much better lottery odds. And so I give me credit. I have been saying that throughout when they've made these moves. That's the beauty of chasing this spot, is you might get it, and you're going to find out what your team is made of, particularly young players. And by the way, The Athletic has been revealing their prospect pools and ranking them accordingly. And they have gone one a day. They have not gotten to the Predators yet, which means the Predators are in the top 10. So for all of you, well, they got to get the high guy. They got to get the accelerator, the top pick there. Well, they're doing something right in the pool. If those guys in The Athletic know anything about what they're talking about, I think they do. So they have been developing a good pool of talent that hopefully will help them in the coming years. But the bonus of maybe having a chance for a high pick could still happen if they falter in the last 8 games.
615-737-1025 will take your thoughts on the Predators. They are back in action on Thursday against the LA Kings to start a critical road trip. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, there was a major move in the NHL yesterday that got me wondering about the Predators. We will discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. You know what? Let's give away some tickets, shall we? If you would like a 4-pack of tickets to see Monster Jam at Nissan Stadium on Saturday, April 14th, be caller number 4 at 615-737-1025. Caller number 4 will win a 4-pack of tickets to Monster Jam at Nissan Stadium on Saturday, April 14th. Get ready for high-flying stunts, massive jumps, and insane skills. This is family-friendly adrenaline you do not want to miss, and you won't miss it if you're caller number 4. 615-737-1025. Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
For more on this surprising news, we are joined by Elliot Friedman. I guess I have to start with your reaction first off when you heard the news, and also why make this change now?
I'll answer the second one first, Martine. It's a desperation move. There's no question about it. I think it just shows how much pressure there is on the Vegas Golden Knights to win this year, and how that they can't let this happen, and they don't want this season to go south. But all I'll say is this: I didn't see Tortorella coming. I got the sense Cassidy was in trouble. It's just that we've all been kind of fixating on Peter DeBoer, the guy who might come in as a replacement, but it wouldn't be in Vegas because he's already coached there, right? So I just didn't see Tortorella coming. I thought Cassidy was in trouble, but I missed, I guess, the obvious successor. I think the thing it says most of all, though, is the desperation on Vegas to win, and they're not throwing away this season. They need it.
That was our friend Elliot Friedman, Sportsnet NHL insider, breaking down the news yesterday that the Vegas Golden Knights, with 9 games left in their regular season, 8 games left in their regular season, fired coach Bruce Cassidy. And look who's back, John Tortorella. John Tortorella, he always finds a way back in, Willie. People love Torts. He always finds a way back.
I was wondering, as I was processing this bombshell that hit yesterday, and I guess, should we really think that anything that Vegas does is a bombshell? This is just how they roll. This is what they do.
Hold that thought, but please continue.
Do you think they considered Peter Laviolette?
That's a good question.
Because he and Tortorella are basically the same guy, right? American coaches, feisty.
Yes.
Have a great ability to jumpstart a team. And then usually they wear themselves out after about 3 or 4 years, and they move on to the next thing. And I really do. I do feel like Peter Laviolette will get another shot with somebody. He would have been an interesting guy to insert into this, same as Tortorella. But it's how they go, and I can look at it from where I sit, and we just saw Vegas not long ago. Predators beat them. Vegas has been snake bit, but if you take a look, they're losing for one reason.
Goaltending.
Yeah. And is it really the coach's fault when a goalie just cannot stop a beach ball?
Unfortunately for NHL coaches, yes, it is. Because
they're
the ones who pay for it.
That's the tough thing about the job. But that's why
Vegas has also had some scoring issues as well.
But it's not because of lack of chances. Like they get the chances. They're just not going in.
I mean, look what happened in the Predators game between the Golden Knights and Predators last weekend. The Golden Knights outshot the Predators 20-4 in the first period. It was 1-0 Predators. That's how it's sort of been going for the Golden Knights for quite some time. And by the way, this is not the first time an NHL team has fired a coach this late into a season in playoff position. It's a rarity, but as you said, Willie, this is business as usual for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights have been in the NHL for nearly 10 years. And if there's one thing I've learned about the Vegas Golden Knights, they are ruthless. They are win at all costs. They are emotionless in how they do business. They fire winning coaches. Bruce Cassidy won the Stanley Cup with the Vegas Golden Knights 3 years ago. The Golden Knights had the 5th best record by points percentage in the NHL since the start of Cassidy's first season. And one rough patch since the Olympic break, and he's gone. It's not just coaches. It's with players as well. The Golden Knights have been aggressive in making big trades. Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Alex Pietrangelo. Well, I think Alex Pietrangelo, I believe, was a free agent signing, but you get my point. They've been ruthless. And then there are the Nashville Predators. And this is what got me thinking yesterday as I was processing this news. And Joel says on our text line, let me guess, Adam thinks the new GM should fire Andrew Brunette and hire Bruce Cassidy. Cassidy is a very good coach, but that's not where I was going with it. But I see what you're doing there, Joel. Part of me wonders if the Predators should be a little bit more like the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas is the antithesis of Nashville, not as cities because they're basically the same, right? As hockey organizations, Vegas is the antithesis of Nashville. Nashville, in its history, has shown what I would call extreme loyalty. I believe the Predators, correct me if I'm wrong here, Willie, I believe the Predators have had as many head coaches in nearly 30 years as the Vegas Golden Knights have had in less than a decade. I believe Tortorella is their 5th coach, right? Gerard Gallant, Pete DeBoer. I'm missing somebody in there, right? Gerard Gallant, Pete DeBoer, Bruce Cassidy. So he's the 4th. Tortorella's the 4th, if my math is right.
I think that's right.
So I just wonder, in the pursuit of winning, if maybe the Predators should take a page out of the Vegas Golden Knights playbook. For example, the Vegas Golden Knights, I don't think, would have ever had the handshake agreement that Barry Trotz has with Ryan O'Reilly. If Ryan O'Reilly played for the Golden Knights and he did not have a no movement clause in his contract, TS, Ryan O'Reilly, if we want to trade you, that's what's going to happen. It just popped into my mind yesterday, Willie and Derek. I just wondered, the Golden Knights, they will win at all costs. Should the Predators, I'm not saying the Predators should go all the way to where the Vegas Golden Knights have been, but maybe they should lean in that direction a little bit.
I think you have to look at the origin and the 2 expansion franchises, what was laid out.
Much different situation.
Because the Predators had to be the phrase that David Poyle said from the first day, and that is, we have to be the tortoise and the hare. We can't do this overnight. The system is, there was no salary cap. They were given the scraps from the other teams. So much different than Vegas, who found themselves with the ability to compete in the very first year. They didn't realize how good they were going to be, and then all of a sudden they were. And so that set them down a completely different path. So I think that has shaped how they've gone about it since day one. I think Vegas sat there and said, oh my gosh, we're pretty good. And then, oh my gosh, we're in the Stanley Cup final. And like, well, we got to do that again. And so they've been making their moves accordingly year to year. I think probably realizing down the road, they're going to pay the price at some point.
The bill is coming due soon.
They keep trading their picks. They haven't really ever had to develop much of a farm system. They just keep making it work with what they've got, which is a huge credit to how they've done it. The Predators couldn't build it that way. That system didn't exist. So they have been built on patience, loyalty, community, family. Like that is their thing. Those, to me, are admirable traits, like staying the course. And it served them well in a lot of ways. Now, had it been flipped, let's say Vegas came into the league in 1998 with the rules that were going there, and the Predators came in 2018, and the rules were different, the Predators might have had a little bit more of that riverboat gambler, let's jump all in and go for it, than they do now. So it's a fascinating question, but I'll say this. I like the traits that the Predators have been built on. That's how I roll. That's always how I've approached life. I think loyalty and patience mean something. Being more of a people person, not being ruthless, that's a good thing. Now, is there a little bit of in between, right? Is there a little bit of happy median? Probably so, right?
Well,
so it's a really good question. It's a fascinating question.
I mean, they're going to have to do something. And maybe, I mean, would you say sort of like, and this happened a while back, sort of like the Shea Weber was a ruthless move?
That was pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
That was Golden Knights-esque, I would say.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
it's a bold move.
But that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago. But they've done it, but they haven't done it at the clip that Vegas has. But when you come in and you win a title almost instantaneously, it's almost like it becomes a drug. You have to keep up with that.
The Golden Knights made the Stanley Cup final in their first season.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, tell me if I'm wrong here, Willie, I believe the only season the Golden Knights missed the playoffs, they missed the playoffs in like the final game of the season in a shootout with the Dallas Stars or something like that. Like they've never been out of it in their nearly 10 years of existence. They have never been out of it. And I understand your point. The Golden Knights had significant advantages in the expansion era than the Predators did. It's night and day. If there's something even bigger, if there's a bigger disparity between night and day, I don't know what it is, but that's what it was. The Golden Knights were set up to be successful right away. But I am wondering, as the Predators look to hire a new GM, I'm wondering if that new GM can borrow a page, rip out a page of the Golden Knights playbook. Because I hear what you're saying, Willie. You want people to be loyal. You want people to feel like you have their best interests in mind, that they're not going to do you wrong. But I almost have to admire from afar just how hyper-focused on winning the Golden Knights are. And they think, I'm not sure it's going to work, they think that firing Bruce Cassidy and hiring John Tortorella for the rest of the season is going to get them to figure it out. It may backfire spectacularly. But I have to admire the gumption that, like, they're in a playoff spot. They play in a bad division. They're probably not going to fall out of that spot. But ownership, management said, still not good enough, and had to make. I mean, I admire it in a way. I do.
I don't know. And this also goes directly towards what your philosophy is on firing coaches. You know mine. I am more of the patient and looking closely at, is it the coach or is it just the team is stuck? I think for Vegas, the team has been stuck for a while. They're hitting posts all over the place. If you look at the analytics, right, this is, again, where you fall back on what do you have at your disposal to try to make these decisions rationally and not emotionally. I saw a team that is getting pretty good scoring chances and just not bearing them, which is one way to lose in hockey. And then you couple that with bad goaltending, and now you've got a problem, right? You put those two things together, it's hard to overcome that. But it could flip, right? Now, they're not going to have a new goalie. This is the thing that John Tortorella is going to have to try to solve. That they're stuck with the goalies that they have. But does just changing. Now, what we don't know is the day in and day out, had the team just tuned out Bruce Cassidy, right? You mentioned it. Won a Stanley Cup, right? So they're not showing loyalty. He's not getting the benefit of the doubt for having won a cup with them. He is 88 out the gate and saying, thanks for what you've done for us. Because they must suspect that his message is stale, getting old, but I don't know if it just magically happens, because it'll be a great test case of, do you get the coaching bump?
615-737-1025.
Tortorella, by the way, is the same kind of coach as Cassidy. He's a hard driving guy, defense first. And so I don't know that they've really changed the philosophy. They just changed the guy that's walking in the door.
615-737-1025. Would it hurt the Predators to be a little bit more like the Vegas Golden Knights, who fired Bruce Cassidy, their Stanley Cup winning coach, with fewer than 10 games left in the regular season in a playoff spot? 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction. Also, there is something that crossed Willie Donik's and Derek Mason's desks today from the NFL owners meetings that didn't sit right with them. And we will discuss that coming up next as well. 615-737-1025. Willie Donik, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. You've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident. Go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers fights to get you the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired or better yet, replaced. So call 1-800-LAW Tigers or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Street South. And don't forget, go to predatorsbike.com to enter to win a custom Nashville Predator Indian motorcycle signed by the entire team, courtesy of Law Tigers in Music City, Indiana. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talking Predators after the Vegas Golden Knights fired Bruce Cassidy yesterday with fewer than 10 games left in their season, hiring John Tortorella. And it had me wondering if the Predators should take a page out of the Golden Knights' playbook and maybe be a bit more ruthless in their dealings. One texter says, man, I got really excited getting in the car and hearing talk about a coach getting fired and thought the Preds might have finally pulled the plug on Bruno, especially after these last 3 games. That did not happen. Sorry, texter. Craig says, I wish the Preds would operate somewhere in the middle of Vegas and what the Predators currently do now, which was your point, Willie.
I don't know if I would go to the middle. I think, there's always situations where you maybe break out of your comfort zone. Like, don't you think David Poile, who still I think is the biggest stamp on setting the foundation of how they roll, right? It's not like David Poile never made big trades. He's got 2 of the biggest one-for-one trades of the salary cap era, maybe the 2 biggest ones. Ryan Johansson for Seth Jones, which we just were talking about on Saturday, because Ryan Johansson has recently announced his retirement. He's coming around again. He's surfaced now that he's retired. You can kind of celebrate the good things about his game, but that trade was a huge trade, Jones for Johansson. And then Seth Jones PK Subban for Shea Weber was an even bigger trade. Those are 2 gigantic trades. So it's not like they never stepped out of the box. David Poile made some bold moves, but by and large, David Poile was a patient GM that didn't rise and fall every day with the way the wind was blowing, right? He was going to stick to his plan for the most part. So I get it, but let's take the texture. I don't know if he was being sarcastic or not. I think the move to keep Andrew Brunette has really helped this team get to where they are, which is in a position still to miraculously make the playoffs. It looked like they were done. Because let's be honest, it is a flawed team. It's not the best team they've ever rolled out there. They're in a transition, which they knew they were going to be in a couple of years ago, where you've got those 30-somethings and you've got this young group of prospects that still isn't ready to carry the load yet, and you're trying to make the most of it. I think that's a big challenge for a coach. I think Andrew Brunette has done a very, very good coaching job to get them to this point.
One texter says, the most incestuous hiring sport in the world strikes again. Did y'all know there's only 35 total people on the planet that can be an NHL head coach? Fun
So it's
fact.
musical chairs, and you just, okay, so Lavi, Peter DeBoer.
Yeah.
And they chose Torts, so Torts is back in.
Bruce
Cassidy's back in there.
Bruce Cassidy will be coaching another team at the start of next season.
Didn't you think the NBA was like that for a long time too, though?
Just recirculating coaches. They just get one team to another.
When I was growing up, and you probably remember these days, D-Mace, guys like Gene Shue,
yes,
Kevin Lockery. There was a certain amount of guys that would
always
ended up coaching.
What was Cleveland's coach back in the day? God,
Mike Fratello.
Mike Fratello, but after that,
he coached a bunch of different teams.
Gosh, man, I just
remember. You know who comes to mind for me? Bernie Bickerstaff.
That's who I was thinking about.
Really?
Bernie Bickerstaff.
Bernie Bickerstaff.
That's who I was thinking
he gets
about.
Around.
Bernie Bickerstaff.
Good
man,
for you, Bernie.
He's been to so many teams. Goodness.
You forgot about Bernie. Yes. The NBA is like that, but especially the NHL.
The NHL they've got that. They definitely have that element.
Yes. I mean, how many teams now has John Tortorella coached? Tampa Bay,
the Rangers,
the
Flyers,
the Canucks, the ill-fated trip to Vancouver,
the Blue Jackets.
So
that's
this is
5.
his 6th team.
Are we missing one? So that's 6. Laviolette he's got about that same number, doesn't
Laviolette has New York Islanders, Carolina, Philadelphia, Nashville, Washington, New York.
Yeah,
6.
So that's 6.
Yes. Tortorella has coached. This will be his 6th team. Tampa Bay, Columbus, New York, Philadelphia, and Vancouver.
Well, somebody's gonna get to 7.
That's awesome.
Who gets to 7 quicker?
That's a good question.
Actually, let's see if Lavi gets back into the mix.
I wouldn't be
Next summer,
shocked
he-
if
he
Laviolette.
won up torts.
I wouldn't be shocked if Laviolette is coaching next year.
I wouldn't at all.
So, I mean, Pete DeBoer's been out. He'll be back in.
DeBoer's starting to get up there too. He's got the Devils, the Sharks,
The Panthers.
the Panthers.
Yes, he coached the Panthers.
Devils, Sharks,
very early in
Panthers,
his career.
Stars,
He
Golden Knights. So that's 5.
He has coached 5 teams: San Jose, New Jersey, Dallas, Florida, and Vegas.
Oh man,
That's a good and a bad thing.
So
I
what is
guess.
worse, basketball or hockey when it comes to that? I don't know.
Is it? I
In
guess
foot-
it's
in
bad when
football-
you get fired, but it's good when you get hired.
I feel like in
again.
football, you get that coaching job, you get your first head coaching job. If you get fired, you're back to being a coordinator for a minute.
Yeah.
It does seem like that. Yeah.
You may
And it's
you
hard
may get a
to
second
do
chance.
it. You don't do it in the season as much for football. I don't,
Yeah.
not as much probably. There's only 16 games.
Yeah.
It's hard to put a whole new offense in or something. So you're kind of, it's a lot of interim stuff. Baseball, I would say probably has been sort of like that. I think it's less than it used to be that way.
You would know
it's some-
better than me about baseball.
Sometimes it's just kind of you just need a new voice in there. I think sometimes it is as simple as that. I think there's a lot to this move with Vegas is that they just wanted to shake it up. They wanted to shock everybody and have somebody new walk into the door and see if you get better results, even though if you look at it from a structure standpoint, there's nothing wrong with how the Vegas Golden Knights are going about it in terms of their possession, their chances, the chances they're giving up, but they're not getting goalies. They're not getting goalies making a save. I don't know how much you put on the coach there. And the puck's just not going in. Sometimes you have bad puck luck for a while, an extended period of time. So is it just trying to change your luck by changing the coach? Sometimes I think that happens, the emotions of it.
In the NHL, you get what? Probably 2-3 years on average, maybe 4 as a coach before you get fired. I mean, how many NHL coaches today have been in their positions for anywhere between 8 to 10 years? John Cooper, Jared Bednar. I know I'm probably missing somebody else in there, but they are outliers. Most NHL coaches, you get 3 or 4 years tops. And
I think that's probably around what we're talking, 3 or 4 years, right?
yes. But I'm trying to look up NHL coaches by hiring date here. Let's see. Cooper has been in his position since March of 2013. Bednar, August of 2016. Rod Brindamore,
Brindamore, that's
May of
one.
2018.
Yeah.
Then Martin St. Louis, who was hired in February of 2022, is the 4th longest tenured coach in the NHL. At February of 2022,
That is a big drop off
just over
after those top 3.
just over 4 years. One texter says one man's trash is another man's treasure as far as these coaches go.
That is what you find out sometimes, though, is these are really good coaches. It's not like they don't know how to coach. It's just sometimes you have to shake up the formula.
I'm just impressed that Derek and I were on the same wavelength with Bernie Bickerstaff. It's like, what are the
Yes.
chances that we were thinking about the same random NBA coach at the same time? Former Charlotte Bobcats head coach, Bernie Bickerstaff.
There we go. Guess who coached the most teams in MLB, Willie?
In MLB,
Yes.
In MLB history.
for
History.
manager.
Yeah, manager.
Let's see. Billy
think
Martin's
this
got
is
to be
right.
up there.
How many did Billy have?
Let's see. Billy Martin. He had the Twins, the Rangers, the Yankees. Got fired and hired by the Yankees a bunch of times. The A's. Well,
He had 4, I think.
he had 4 or 5.
Yeah. Jimmy Dykes.
That's going
5.
That's going way back.
He coached 5 teams. Most teams managed.
So the
5.
record is 5 in baseball, and
Yeah.
Tortorella's got that beat. Tortorella's got 6.
It's just amazing that the 4th longest.
And Lavi's got 6, right? Well, Lavi's already got 6.
I think his next job would be 7.
Next job would be the 7th if he gets it.
Yeah, that's
Maybe he'll
Great.
become a baseball manager and beat Jimmy Dykes.
something tells me that Peter would be good at arguing balls and strikes, although you don't really have to do that as much anymore.
That is the one sad thing about the baseball with these new technologies and replays. You don't get the great Billy Martin or Earl Weaver or Bobby Cox is coming out of the dugout fuming and just going wild.
But I
on the
did
umps.
see that CB Buckner had 6 pitches overturned.
Oh my gosh.
By ABS.
Poor CB. It didn't take long for him to get exposed. He's always just had the reputation of not being the best ump, and now early on he got challenged, I think 3 times in a row on the same at bat by the Reds, and they won all 3 challenges.
Oh,
Poor
wow.
guy had to go, the Reds have challenged, and my call has been overturned.
As one texter points out, Andrew Brunette, the 7th longest tenured coach in the NHL, despite being
7th?
Yes, 7th.
Gosh,
The 7th longest tenured coach. It goes. Here we go. John Cooper, Jared Bednar, Rod Brendamore, Martin St. Louis, Paul Maurice, Spencer Carberry, Andrew Brunette.
Paul Maurice was in Winnipeg for a long, long time,
He's
already moved back up to the top 5.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
615-737-1025. All right.
Paul Maurice replaced Andrew Brunette in Florida.
That is true. And that's why this whole thing is cyclical. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Well, all I would say is before you go off and say, take this theory for Adam, keep in mind that it doesn't work most of the time, even though it might seem like it is. Hey, we got to do something. Most of the time you end up right back where, it doesn't make that much of a difference in many cases. It's not like it's the end all be all solution, or else everybody would be firing the coach every week.
615-737-1025. All right. I teased it earlier. Let's get to it next. There is something that someone affiliated with the Titans said at the owners' meetings that when Willie and Derek saw it earlier today, they were displeased. We'll discuss it coming up next. 615-737-1025. Very displeased. By the way, our NFL offseason coverage is presented proudly by Tennessee Brew Works. Locally brewed, community driven. Tennessee Brew Works, the official craft beer of the football offseason coverage, right here on 102.5 The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. A glaring omission.
Glaring.
In our conversation about coaches that get around, coaches who get around. Larry Brown. I don't know how we missed Larry Brown in that conversation.
He is the king. He's got to be the all-timer.
His career coaching record in the ABA and NBA, 1,327 wins, 1,011 losses for a career winning percentage of .568.
Well,
how could we miss Larry Brown?
Both won and lost over 1,000 games in the NBA/ABA. That's pretty awesome. We're not even counting his college. He took UCLA and Kansas to the finals, won a national championship with Danny Manning at Kansas, and then came to SMU.
That's when he beat the Spartans. And that
they beat the Spartans.
Somebody has a stray thought on our conversation about the Golden Knights and the Predators. Trading players for draft picks is just procrastinating. Trust me, we'll be good in several years. The Knights trade picks for players. Players win games, not picks. The NHL GM should always focus on winning now, not trade off the entire franchise to tank for a decade, a la the Tennessee Titans. I wouldn't say that's what the Predators are doing.
Well, they did do that for a while. When they were in the mode of feeling like they were close to winning it, the first time they got to that point was back in 2007, and they traded for Peter Forsberg. That was a very bold, go-for-it move. They did it again when they were winning the President's Trophy. Those years, 2015, 16, 17, they traded some first-round picks in there for players. It didn't move the needle necessarily, but I do commend Vegas. They have made some really shrewd trades, and that most of them have worked. Not all of them, but they've been smart.
One texter on our tease about the Tennessee Titans says, y'all have a funny way of saying Music City Oilers. It must be your accents. Well, as we heard from Turron, as we heard from Turron Davenport in the first hour, he is at the NFL owners meetings in Phoenix, Arizona, and so is intrepid reporter Jim Wyatt. Jim Wyatt, of course, with TennesseeTitans.com. And he had a story with Burke Nihill, president and CEO of the Tennessee Titans. And I preface this by saying, when a team reporter is talking to a team executive, of course, the story is going to skew positive. That's just the name of the game. I'm not faulting Jim Wyatt for doing that. I know that he has a much easier time in his life working for the Titans than he did when he worked for the Tennessean, chasing down every single scoop. But there was a snippet in this article that Willie and Derek pointed out, and I'm going to read it to you now. Quote, Nihill said the feedback from players and fans has been incredible since the reveal of the Titans. Incredible since the reveal of the Titans' new uniforms on March 12th. Quote, we expected that it would be positively received, but I think it has been even more positive than we could have ever anticipated. It has been really gratifying to see the feedback, and it has been nice to see something fresh and new out there.
Oh,
Wyatt writes, the excitement from
the
fan base.
We anticipated it would be great, but it's even better than we anticipated.
He writes, Wyatt, the excitement from the fan base has shown up at the team store at Nissan Stadium. The weekend following the brand reveal event, sales at the team store were up significantly compared to the same weekend in previous years. Nihill said, quote, the fans clearly reacted well to the merchandise, end quote.
Anytime you come out with something new,
incredible,
people are going to, especially when it's in the sports world, and sort of, a new head coach, building a stadium. So everything is sort of trending up for the Tennessee Titans. And for them to unveil a new jersey, I expected people would go out and support and buy the jerseys. But y'all know how I feel about it. The listeners know. And every time I come across someone, they don't have the same sentiment as Burke Nihill. They just don't. And I'm just being honest about this, and I'm not saying that Burke Nihill is wrong by, the people that he may have talked to. What I'm saying is the people that I've run into, they say the same thing. It's like you're erasing that we don't want to be the Oilers. That's what their things are. We don't want to be the Oilers. We're not the Oilers. We're the Tennessee Titans in two-tone blue. And I am going to forever say that's the jersey and the colors we went to the Super Bowl in. No other team in this franchise history has done that. None. Not the Houston Oilers. The Tennessee Titans did, the two-tone blue. And the sentiment that I'm getting, it's not like they hate it. I'm not saying that. But they are a little unhappy that you basically erased the Tennessee Titans, the two-tone blue. That's what you did. You basically erased it. I know you have some, stars underneath your armpits and stuff
the
like
armpit.
that.
Yeah, nice work. Thanks for the armpit.
And the strings. Oh, we got the guitar strings.
I love the quote of,
navy blue.
if you squint, you can see some navy.
Exactly.
Well, thanks a lot. Yeah.
So again,
Yes.
I like the jerseys.
But the
I
feedback
like them.
has been incredible.
No, I mean, who is he talking
we
to?
knew it was going to be great, but it's even exceeded.
We
Who did y'all
expected,
talk to?
we
Look,
expected
okay.
that it would be positively received, but I think it has been even more positive than we could have
All right.
ever anticipated.
So let's take that statement. Number one, we know that no matter what sport you're playing, no matter what uniform you go to, there is always, even if you come out with the best uniform anybody's ever seen, there's always a faction of people that don't like it, right?
Yeah.
yes.
That is 100% true, whether it's the Titans, the Predators, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Bucks. You go right down the list. You switch the uniforms, you're going to get a reaction, and it's not always going to be great. So that statement right there, is a bunch of baloney. It's just not true. So
like the word
either
baloney.
he's completely out of touch
That's
with
Willie
reality.
Kersey saying baloney.
Yes.
He's completely out of touch with reality, or he's just trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. Either way, it's comical. You don't make a statement like that. Now, you can say, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, look, anytime you change the uniform, we've seen it in sports. Some people like it. Some people don't. We feel like over the time, people are going to take to the new uniform. They'll get used to it. They're going to like it. And we have had plenty of people say thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to say. Be real. That statement right there is so bad.
You know
You
what?
can't, because it's just not true.
Here's
We're not, Derek, you and I have been very in unison on this about our feelings about because we know the history, right?
Exactly.
Long before Burke Nightheel was here, I heard every day on the show, please get rid of the Oilers uniforms. We need our own look. We need our own team. When they switched to the Titans, the two-tone blue, that was a thing. That was an identity. We're not the only people in the city that feel like that. So Burke is trying to have you believe that everything we've said on the show and the feedback we get from the listeners and all the history we know going back doesn't exist. Because what's the quote again, Adam?
Hold, please.
We got to get it one more time.
Where to go? I'll have to find it. Here it is. Okay, here it is. Sorry.
Just think about this. This is his reality.
Quote, we expected that it would be positively received.
We expected.
But I think it has been even more positive than we could have ever anticipated.
what is more positive? I just thought positive was positive. More positive. I mean, again.
But it goes, and here's another example. It's not the first time, because the same thing happened with the PSLs for the new stadium. The reality on our taking the pulse of people all the time. We did it more than once on the show. Probably did it 5 different times, because the feedback was coming back to us. Hey, man, they are charging a lot of money. They've priced me out, right? We had plenty of people that felt like that.
Yeah.
Now, are they being replaced by other people that are buying the tickets? I think to a large extent, yeah. But Burke Nightheel had the same kind of glowing thing in the preseason where we were saying, we expected that it was going to be this or this, but it's been even better than our expectations. We're keeping our fans in, all of these things. It's just not reality.
My thing is,
You have to acknowledge that these are challenges, if nothing else, right? You don't have to say that you're perfect or you've made a bunch of mistakes, but you got to understand the rockiness, the difficulty of making tough decisions. It was a decision to switch the colors. It was a big decision to charge what you're going to charge for PSLs, to have the strategy that you had with your loyal base of season ticket holders that go way, way back to when you switched the uniforms to begin with. It just doesn't, you're not in tune with them. If you're not saying there has been a little bit of back and forth, you can't please everybody. That's the reality.
I'm going to tell you, I'm sure he got a lot of the feedback from the unveiling. And rightfully so. When you go into it, was probably, I don't know, 5,000. I don't know how many people, it was thousands of people in there. And I'm sure that people he went up to, in that setting probably said, yeah, we love the jerseys. That was your group. That is who you asked, and rightfully so, because they came to the unveiling and you wanted to ask them, so what do you think about the jerseys? And here's the problem that I have with just, when it comes to sports. Like, are you telling him the truth, or are you just telling him I like it because you're there in front of his face? No, honestly,
I do think that's a question I would have.
Because had they asked me,
what are his people telling him?
Had they asked me, I would have said, listen, do I like the jersey? Yeah. But did y'all, miss something? Hell yeah. Y'all totally got away from the Navy. And that, to me, only to me, I don't know how my fellow teammates feel that I play with. I don't know. But to me, you just totally you neglected all that stuff that we did from 99 until 0405. I'm just talking about my team. I'm not talking about the teams that were good after that. But you're taking that era and you're just putting it to the side. And you're saying, well, we're just going to give y'all a little remnants of it. We're just going to, give you some stars underneath your armpits where really can't nobody see them, and recognize it. You totally went away from it. And that would have been my thing to Burke Nihill. Why did y'all go so much away from the navy blue?
Two texts on this that I want to read. One from Sean. The overwhelmingly positive feedback is coming from people outside of Nashville. Outsiders love that Oilers throwback. I've heard people on the national shows talk about how going back to Oilers colors is a great move. One texter says, Willie, don't you think a man in his position, meaning Burke Nihill's position, needs to be a good salesman / advocate for his brand?
I think you're a better salesman if you're honest with people and not making it seem like, it's an obvious thing to me. When you're talking about fashion and a uniform, everybody's got their own perspective on it, right? You're not going to have everybody feel the same way just by nature. Like, I'll give you from the Mets, right? I have my traditional Mets hat on today. I also own a hat of the Mets that's black. And for the longest time,
I bet you hated the black uniforms. I bet you hated the black uniforms.
At first, I have to say, I did not like the black uniforms, right? They went to them for a while. I was not happy with that. I got used to them a little bit. Then they went away from it, went back to the traditional just orange and blue. And only a few years ago, they brought back as an alternate third jersey a black jersey. And man, there was a huge debate among the Mets people whether they should do that or not. A lot of people divided. Some people like them, some people don't. But that's what you get when you change your uniforms. It's the reality. It's never going to be different. So to say that everybody loves a new uniform, that's just not in touch with reality.
You're erasing. Again, I go back to it for this reason, because 15 years from now, they're going to look at the Tennessee Oilers, Tennessee Titans.
Freudian slip there.
And they're going to say, well, this must have been their colors the whole time. Because if you go all the way back, you're going to see Oiler colors. And then the kids now are going to see Oiler colors. They're not going to know that there was actually a two-tone in there that actually went to the Super Bowl. I hope and I pray that this team in this new color go to the Super Bowl and win this time. It's great, would be great for the franchise. But you're skipping a whole generation of players and fans, and you're taking all those and you're throwing them to the side. And you're combining the old Oilers with the new Oilers, and you scroll and you're squeezing out the two-tone. That's my only problem. And it seems like for some reason it's been trending that way. They're sort of squeezing that era of Titan football out.
One texter says, saying the merch sales are up significantly compared to the same week in the previous year is also comical. Really padding the stats.
I mean, when you have brand new stuff, of course, right? It's a different
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, however, there is a topic that I know Willie Donick is absolutely going to love. It's going to have the opposite effect on him as those comments from Burke Nihill. We will get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
on 3 hits and 2/3 of an inning. Golfed into the left center field. This one carrying. They did it again! Walk-off grand slam. Tommy Gooden, 3 straight walk-offs for Vandy. It's a series sweep of the rival and a total Tennessee meltdown today.
I'm sure Willie Dominic loves hearing that. A total Tennessee meltdown. Vanderbilt sweeps Tennessee for the first time in more than 10 years. All 3 wins by walk-off, including yesterday. The Vandy boys down 15-10 in the 9th inning. Win on a walk-off grand slam by Tommy Gooden. They win 16-15. Has to feel pretty nice, Willie.
It does feel very nice. I have to say, I haven't gotten any feedback. I have tried to ask around. How many baseball series at any level have a 3-game series where all 3 games end in a walk-off win for one team? It's got to be completely improbable. And then not only were they all 3 walk-offs, you had the first was kind of the run-of-the-mill walk-off. The Friday night was 2-2 in the 9th. They got a base hit. They scored. Very exciting. They all ran out of the dugout, mobbed the guy. The next day, the game goes to 16 innings. Man. And they score the winning run on a squeeze play in the bottom of the 16th. They all pour out of the dugout again. And then yesterday, what we just played, they're down 15-10. They gave up some runs in the top of the 9th, and you're thinking, oh, boy, well, they just ran out of pitchers. And they score 6. They were still down 15-12. They sent up Tommy Gooden, and he's a pinch hitter. The bases are loaded. They're down 15-12. So he hits a grand slam. So you go from 3 down to winning. Just a improbable set of circumstances there.
So
I'd love to know if that's ever happened.
Let us know if you do.
On in sports.
So here's where I'm going with this. Vanderbilt baseball just swept Tennessee for the first time in more than 10 years. I believe 2013 is the exact year. Vanderbilt has won 6 consecutive games against Tennessee in baseball, dating back to last season. The Vanderbilt men won 2 out of 3 in basketball against Tennessee this season. The Vanderbilt women beat UT in basketball in Knoxville this season. And how can we possibly forget Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt going into Neyland Stadium and beating that tush 45-24 to end the regular season in football.
They've owned Tennessee this year.
And I know Vols fans out there.
This has never happened since I've been following Vanderbilt. Nothing close to this kind of edge in a school year.
And here's my question. Should we start expecting this? I know that Vols fans are going to call and text and say, well, look at the record books. And that's true. If you want to look at the record books between Tennessee and Vanderbilt in football, Tennessee, clearly the dominant team in this rivalry. But I'm talking about recent history. By the way, congratulations to Mark Byington, new contract with Vanderbilt men's basketball. But we talked about this, Derek, last week with Candace Story Lee on the program, Vanderbilt AD. Things are shifting. Vanderbilt, the Commodores got the money. They are willing to spend to win. Willie, you have brought up the basketball training facility and how spectacular that is. Vanderbilt is making a commitment to winning that it didn't for a very long time.
Right. The football process has been going on for 2 or 3 years, and it is going to continue because they started with the stadium, right, which is almost done now, and that took a long way to build. Now they're going to do the same thing to their facility across the street. So it's an ongoing commitment.
But my question is, with all of that in mind, and I doubt that Vanderbilt will defeat Tennessee in these sports at this high of a clip forever. But with the way things have been going, should we consider this the norm? That Vanderbilt and Tennessee will be on even footing going forward?
You would hope so. I think what has helped Vandy, and everybody understands this, because of the NIL and the transfer portal. These have helped. These things have helped Vanderbilt, and they've taken full advantage of it. And not only that, they've been very deliberate at what they want to do with their programs. We had Candace Lee on last week. We've had Shay Ralph on. We've had Coach Lee on, and they've all talked about the synergy and just the connection between, at least and I'm just talking about the major sports on campus, and I'm sure they have the same thing with those that are not considered major sports. But with those major sports, there's this connection. And if this was pre-NIL, I would say I'm not sure if they can sustain it, because it's tough. But now that the level, the playing field has been sort of level in somewhat, they can do, I think, what Pat Fitzgerald did at Northwestern, get them to a point where people don't look at them like the old Northwestern. They looked at them because Pat had that team. They had some really good seasons in his tenure. They didn't end that well, but when you think of Vandy, I think people still, they don't want to get too far ahead of themselves and say, well, this can be Vandy year in and year out. But I think it can, if they continue to, do the things that they said they're going to do in regards to their programs. And there's no reason why I don't believe that. If they're going to go out and they're going to try to get the best athletes and stay in this game with everybody else, and we know what the game is, paying. You got to pay, you got to go out and get them. Now, they got to be able to get into university as well. I understand that too. But you have no excuse now. There is no excuse that Vandy can put forth now, because the field has been level, and they have, like I said, they have been very deliberate at what they're trying to do with all their programs.
I think two things have happened which has brought this question up. I think bringing this question up 5 or 10 years ago would have been like, what are you talking about? It's Vanderbilt.
Do the voice. It's Vanderbilt.
You can't lose to Vanderbilt.
Thank you.
You can't lose to Vanderbilt. This is the football thing. But like you mentioned, D-Mace, I think initially when NIL and the transfer portal dynamic happened, the assumption was that would be another hurdle and would hurt Vanderbilt. And it's been the opposite. And it's really been the opposite for all college sports. It's leveled the playing field to a large degree. And then the other part is Vanderbilt got in the game. They decided we are going to care about athletics more than we have before. They're going to pour in the necessary resources, and huge kudos to Candace Storey-Lee, who has been there for this whole thing. She's seen the era where it was a fight to try to keep up with the maniacal investment that the other teams in that league do every year. It's normal to be a maniac in the other 15 schools in the SEC. It wasn't normal to be that crazy.
No.
There are a lot of people in Vanderbilt going, well, we'll never be that crazy. And, people like Candace and the athletes were like, you got to be that crazy if you're going to win. Otherwise, your expectations are going to stay modified. Now, I think there is more out there. And so this question can come up. It's really an interesting question with women's basketball and football, because basketball and baseball has been much more of a back and forth rivalry. I mean, Vanderbilt was dominating Tennessee for well over a decade before Tennessee got it going recently. And now who knows what the next chapter or two will hold. And men's basketball, I think, depending on what era you're looking at, has been pretty balanced for the most part. And so it's not crazy to think, you could have the upper hand on Tennessee for several years. Both programs are really good right now, but I think it's much more. It may not be. I'm curious how Tennessee views Vanderbilt going forward now that Vanderbilt has upped the ammo, right? And I'm curious how Vanderbilt's fans have expectations going up against Tennessee. It used to be like the little brother, hey, we knocked him off in football. Remember, I mean, you love digging it to them.
UT's gonna always
maybe it's not as crazy as it used to be to think about that.
I think UT will always look at them sort of like this little brother. I think the mentality changes on the Vanderbilt end. It's like, no, we're no longer the little brother. We can fight, we can compete, and we can beat you. You know, and that's what they have done. I've always said about Vandy, like, I didn't understand why you wanted excellence in your classroom. And I get that part. You wanted excellence. You should want excellence. But you didn't care what happened on your athletic field. That's like saying, I want my house to be immaculate, but the front grass, the front yard, I don't care how it looks. Just manage it. That's all I want. Where we know at just about every university, what is the front door, or what is the sort of
the front
yard?
The athletic department.
It's the athletic department. So if you ain't getting your athletics right, people just the kids are not. A lot of these kids ain't coming. You know, I've always like, you want to excel in the classroom. Why don't you want to excel on a football field, a basketball court, the baseball diamond? Why don't you want that much success outside of the classroom as you do inside? I just never understood that. Like, excellence is excellence, not just in the classroom, but we're going to be excellent at whatever we do. And if that means crocheting, well, we're going to be the best crochet team in the country.
And that's what you could never get. You could never get the top of the top at the university to have that feeling until this guy, Chancellor Diemeyer, he deserves a lot of credit. Because he has said that specific thing about athletics. We want to be the best at everything we do. So and he tries to do it throughout everything. Not every chancellor has had that feeling, right? It's like, athletics. Yeah. We want to be good, but we got to do this. We're not going to be as crazy as the teams we're trying to play against. Remember way back, I don't know, one of the great sports writers, I can't remember if it was Fred Russell or Grantland Rice. You know, there was a famous quote by a Vanderbilt football coach. Forgive me for not knowing which one it is, because they want me to be Harvard Monday through Friday and then beat Alabama on Saturday. We can't, something's wrong here. This is a tough job.
Chad says, important to note that UT still advanced to the Elite Eight for the third year in a row, still further than Vandy, and also Tennessee has made the CFP while Vandy still hasn't. Still some catching up to do. Sure. Yeah. We're not saying that Vanderbilt has overtaken Tennessee. Tennessee has a head start in the athletic department. But the fact that between baseball, men's basketball, women's basketball, and football, that's 7 wins for Vanderbilt, 1 for Tennessee this season into last season.
I have to admit, it is rarefied air. It's a weird feeling if you're a Vanderbilt fan and you're watching that going, I've never seen this before.
Even when James Franklin was was it so lopsided?
Yeah, as someone who lived this, Willie, you have lived this rivalry.
That lopsided? I mean, I can remember the football, but I don't think
basketball
team was okay.
Year.
I think the men's basketball was good.
So James Franklin beat Tennessee 2 out of 3 years and really should have won the third. They kind of blew it his first year. Lost in overtime, I think. So that was 2012 and 2013. They had a really good basketball team at that point. That was John Jenkins and Jeffrey Taylor, Festus Ezeli. That group, that was a really good team. But Tennessee was really good too back then. And Tennessee's baseball was down. I'd say the women's basketball was in a lull. Mm-hmm. So that would be a comparable maybe, but I can't remember. Well, they've definitely never won. A friend of mine texted me this. They've never won in football in Knoxville, women's basketball in Knoxville, men's basketball in Knoxville, all in the same school year. That's never happened. I don't think. It happened this year.
615-737-1025. Is Vanderbilt closing the gap with Tennessee athletically. The baseball team sweeps Tennessee this weekend. Men's basketball won 2 out of 3 against Tennessee. The Vanderbilt women won at Tennessee this season in basketball. The football game late last season, 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts and wrap up the show. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. We're excited because tomorrow we'll be at the ballpark. First Horizon Park.
Gotta love it.
Yes.
The Nashville Sounds open at home tomorrow against the Charlotte Knights, a 6:35 p.m. first pitch. Nashville lost 2 of 3 in its opening series on the road.
Weather looks really good tomorrow.
But the Sounds will be at home for the first time. Opening night fireworks.
Let's go.
Always excited to be at the ballpark. So that's where we will be tomorrow. I believe Chase and Big Joe will also be there. Jake Lyman may be there as well. I think the whole crew will be there. We're looking forward to being at First Horizon Park. Let's go to our phone line driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, and welcome in Tim. Tim, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys, you're talking about this Vanderbilt. Just 5 years ago, baseball was the only thing we really had to hang our hat on. And you look, Coach Lee, Coach Byington, Coach Ralph have all hung their hat on this NIL deal, and they've made it work in a big way. What is our weakest program right now?
Thank you for the call,
Baseball.
Tim.
Baseball?
He says baseball. He answered his own question.
Well, they have 5 injured pitchers right now, which is really making it tough because traditionally that is a huge strength of Vanderbilt baseball. But the injury bug is hit hard. One of their best pitchers has been deemed out for the season, so they're not going to get him back. Hopefully, they'll get a couple of the other guys back, and they can have a shot. But this, it's ironic to say that, but they have that they needed that over the weekend big time because they had been swept the week before at Mississippi State, who's really good. But it should be mentioned too, the other sports, golf and tennis. I mean, they're really, really good too. Soccer is really good on the women's side. Well, there is no men's soccer, but the women's soccer team, I think, went Elite 8, SEC champs. The expectations are higher. And I am curious how the rest of the league perceives it, because it wasn't that long ago, Adam, where it would not have been at all unusual to have somebody call in and say they should kick Vanderbilt out of the SEC. They don't belong. They don't bring anything to the table. Mm-hmm. They should be kicked out.
Especially
that was not a radical call
when Oklahoma and Texas joined the SEC, right? I feel like that's when those sort of calls picked up, right?
You did hear that then for sure, because it was like how many teams you're going to get in this league. But you could wind it all the way back to, when I first started doing shows, it was talked about a lot when the football team, because the football team, of course, creates the image of everything else. And that used to always bug me because it was like, well, look, we got plenty of other sports. They're doing fine. But the football program, because it's the lead dog, creates everything that you perceive around it. And of course, the facilities were not up to snuff while everybody else was making forward progress. They were at a standstill for a long time. So you would get that call a lot. You're not going to get that call again anytime soon. And that's a start. And then I think too, I'm curious if they can build the fan base, because for a long time it was like, you got a city like Nashville, it's got a lot of people coming to town. Can you grab a certain amount of those fans who maybe didn't grow up with an affinity for one of the other schools in the league, if it wasn't Vanderbilt? And they still have a lot of catching up to do with that. But I think they now have so much to offer in terms of, hey, you come watch this team. They're pretty interesting to watch. Can they grow their fan base as a result? That's the next step.
Derek, I know that you love a conspiracy theory.
Oh, absolutely.
Were you familiar with the conspiracy theory surrounding the San Francisco 49ers?
Are you talking about the injury?
Yes. The electrical substation.
Yes. I am aware of that.
So there was, for those who aren't aware, there was this viral online theory that an electrical substation near the San Francisco 49ers training facility was having adverse effects on the players.
I don't even know what that is, an electrical substation, but I know that very notification came to D. Mace's phone because he's got something on his phone.
He gets Google alerts for conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
Yes, he gets Google alerts for all conspiracy theories. So when one happened in the NFL, he was all about it. So yes, there was this theory that this electrical substation was causing all of these injuries for the 49ers. John Lynch spoke at the owners' meetings. He said, quote, the Niners hired an independent scientist to study the substation and see whether there was anything to the idea that the facility could be contributing to their injuries. Quote, it basically was a big nothing burger.
Well, let the NFLPA hire somebody.
We're in a safe place of work. It's a normal place of work. It's a normal gym. We're safe, we're healthy, and we feel really good about that.
And I'm not saying that what, they, found out wasn't true based upon their studies. But do you think he's going to get on there and say, well, you know what? We have found that the substation has basically been contributed to our guys being injured. He's not going to come out and say that.
Like, to me, when I hear electrical substation, I think about it like a superhero movie. Like, it should give them powers, not hurt them. By the way, I hear more from the ESPN article. According to the Niners, the scientist whose name and affiliation was not made available and whom the team says has, quote, over 45 years of experience studying electromagnetic fields and their effects, end quote, was given access to the entire facility. He then used, quote, lab-grade equipment, end quote, to read electromagnetic output and took measurements in any space that players occupy. When
again, if you're not, if you're not,
so you think this is more of a conspiracy theory?
Yes,
now.
You're making it more of a conspiracy theory because you won't give the company the name
of the scientist.
Exactly, you won't give anything. You just said somebody that has had 45. Well, I want somebody with 50 years experience. Where's that guy? Or 47 years experience or 46 years of experience. And then why won't you just tell everybody who it is? That's my thing. That's what makes it more of a conspiracy.
So this explanation from John Lynch does not satisfy you at all.
No,
you think
he was supposed to say that. He's employed by the San Francisco 49ers. And the last thing he's going to let come out of his mouth is, I contributed those injuries to that power station over there. That team would have been bankrupt. They would have been bankrupt. So, you know what? Kudos to whoever that person.
Case closed, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
He
probably did it himself.
Like the stadium is relatively new, right?
It's not
that they
old.
play in. Is that practice facility where the electric field is?
I think so.
Is that near? Is that new? Because that would be like, you want to hope that it's a nothing burger. Right? If they actually came back and said, you know what, there's something to this. We got to get a new
telling
field.
you,
that would be a lot of money.
Appears
in about 30 years, they're going to say, you know what? Yeah, it did contribute to something.
It appears that the training facility is adjacent to Levi Stadium. So it's in the same area.
Well, he did what he was supposed to do. Tell you what he found out.
Chuck says, if you think electromagnetic radiation does not affect the human body, then I don't know what to say.
Exactly.
But see, I'm having the opposite effect. Like, they should become the Incredible Hulk. It should give them the powers, not zap them of their life forces.
But again, like to say
it has the next
no
criminal in the next superhero movie. I thought you weren't into superhero movies, Adam. This is what's going to happen.
Yes. Well, I might have to get into it now if there's a 49ers based superhero movie.
One of
about
Spider-Man's
the electrical substation.
One of Spider-Man's enemies is the Shocker.
Yeah.
Right. That didn't Jamie Foxx play the Shocker in one of the movies?
And didn't that Sandman go into the one of the Spider-Mans where he went into the power grid and the sand kind of made him superhuman?
Sounds like the plot of the next
so if it's gonna
superhero
affect him,
movie to me.
If it affects him in the movie, it doesn't affect the guys out there too.
I don't know.
No wonder, what was the tight end's name?
George Kittle?
No, before Kittle's. Why am I forgetting? He's
Vernon
an actor
Davis.
now. Yeah, Vernon Davis. Maybe that's why he has superpowers. I mean, he can run a 4.1. He can jump over tall, bleachers.
It's football, man.
Football, man.
Another interesting tidbit out of the NFL owners' meetings in the AFC South. Mm-hmm. Anthony Richardson could stay in Indianapolis? ? That's what Chris Ballard told reporters at the owners' meetings. He declined to rule out the possibility of Richardson remaining with the Colts in 2026 when pressed on the issue at the meeting. But asked if there was a scenario where Richardson could remain, he said there's definitely a scenario there.
Well,
that is a guy that he's still so young. His career could go 10 different ways.
Yes. Gosh, man. I wonder what I can't see them trading him.
They've committed to Daniel Jones.
Yeah, they've committed to Daniel Jones.
They paid Daniel Jones the big bucks.
It's like, man, we're gonna look if Anthony Richardson doesn't, reach his full potential. We're gonna look at the Indianapolis coach and say, man, it's just another situation where a franchise messes up a young quarterback. Because essentially that's what they did. He shouldn't have been playing at all that first year, and he played, and you saw what happened.
But that's also what we talked about with drafting quarterbacks with few college starts. How many
he had
college
17
starts,
I think Richardson had.
Wasn't
it like 7? It wasn't over 20.
It was a ridiculously low number.
It's like 13 or something.
That's what I remember. But it would be interesting to see what his market would be because he is so young. He is clearly incredibly talented, but he's been injured and it just hasn't worked. Dylan in Antioch, by the way, says that's why Delaney Walker wasn't unleashed until he came here from San Francisco because of the electrical substation.
Exactly. There you go.
I do think Delaney Walker's time in San Francisco, however, does predate the electrical substation.
San Francisco has had a lot of injuries, man.
Well, that's where the theory came from. It must be the electrical substation.
Gosh.
It can't be the field. It can't be the training staff. It has to be electromagnetic forces that are causing all of these injuries.
I'm with it. Until they prove me different and not.
So John Lynch's statement was unsatisfactory.
Did nothing for me.
For Derek.
Actually, it made me question it even more. It did, because he wouldn't give it. Like, we had these people come out, and this scientist, world-renowned scientists who've been doing this for 45 years. What's his name? Oh, I can't tell you that.
They're very special.
They that special that you can't tell me their names? It's like, man, you didn't put yourself even further on the conspiracy chart than you were before you said that.
Derek's going to go home and put on this tinfoil hat for all of us.
Absolutely.
But that'll do it for us today. We will be live tomorrow at First Horizon Park in Germantown as the Nashville Sounds open their home schedule, a 6:35 p.m. first pitch against the Charlotte Knights. Looking forward to being out at the ballpark. It's supposed to be a gorgeous day, a beautiful day for baseball. Trevor Maddich will join us. Barry Trotz will join us. We'll get into what Mike Borgonzi said at the NFL owners meetings today. We'll do it all starting tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Be loved. Love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. Hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. See you tomorrow on 102.5 The Game at 3 p.m. live from First. Why am I forgetting that? Yeah, First Horizon Park. Yes, excuse me. First Horizon Park. We will see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. We want your ears. Peace.